As members, we are leading our union. We've been building our power and voices in workplaces, industries, and in the broader community. We started having a series of regular member roundtables where we talk about important issues and plan the union's response to these issues. So far, we've had specific roundtables for our community services members, local government members, energy members, Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander members, young members, and we'll soon be launching a roundtable for our LGBTI members. It became really clear during our first community services roundtable that the sector was in crisis. Workers are experiencing increasing workloads, a lack of job security, financial insecurity, and pressure to do more with less.
The biggest issue is funding cuts with a number of organisations and different programs that can actually help families.
As a worker, you're trying very hard, but you never know what's going to happen, what's going to be around the corner, and whether this journey that you have with these clients is going to be continued with you, with your organisation, or indeed with somebody completely different. On a personal level, you don't know whether you can send your kids to a private school or buy a new car because you don't know if you're going to have 3 years worth of payments or even get a mortgage for a house.
I find that the hardest thing is that I know that I'm writing a tender to maintain a program that I know works really well and it's great for our clients and we have great staff. But I also know that we may not win that tender and that has happened, and then I have to watch these people leave.
Morale's not really great because of the uncertainties. There's a lot of talk about whether the organisation might get sold to somewhere like Bupa or to Woolworths and organisations that are for profit.
We're not funding shareholders, we're not supporting big for-profit companies. Our KPIs is the happiness of our clients, and that's important.
Out of these discussions, it became clear that ASU members had to step up and start campaigning for sector-wide reforms. The Save Our Community Services campaign was born. We started sharing our stories publicly, speaking out in the media and on social media about the looming funding cuts and job losses coming on June 30. We lobbied federal and state members of Parliament, including Premier Jay Weatherill. And then, on June 30, we held a rally on the steps of Parliament House, which was attended by hundreds of community services workers and was covered by every television news broadcast for that night. Since then, we've continued to campaign to reform the sector, linking up with our National Community Services Union campaign to work on safeguards for the NDIS, the protection of specialised services for women and Aboriginal people, the restoration of funding to critical services such as community legal centres and mental health support services, the introduction of universal domestic violence leave. During the federal election, we tied these issues into the broader Build a Better Future campaign and endorsed candidates who signed onto our campaign. Our next big focus of the campaign is the introduction of portable entitlements in SA and the NT. We've held 3 local government member roundtables in the past 2 years, and we aim to have every council represented by a delegate at every roundtable. Members travel from right across the state to have their say on issues such as forced amalgamations of councils, the introduction of ICAC, and how we can better work alongside and build power with the AWU. By working together for many years, we have enjoyed a high level of pay and conditions as local government workers. But recently, we've seen the beginnings of a coordinated attack on local government workers' job security.
Many people enjoy pretty good conditions relative to other workplaces, and yet those same conditions, as can be seen from examples around the world, the UK being one example, of places where people in libraries and other aspects of local government have experienced sudden and drastic cuts that they wouldn't otherwise have predicted or suggested. So complacency is very dangerous, and we engage in it at our peril.
So while the council's made moves to cut no forced redundancies out of agreements, we set about rolling out a sector-wide bargaining approach that focused on maintaining our job security. This is about members working together as a whole sector to safeguard our existing conditions. And so, our Staking Our Claim EB Toolkit was born, containing model clauses and minimum standards our reps will use when bargaining. Our organisers then visited as many individual councils as possible to ensure each site signed up and endorsed the campaign.
Energy company Alinta today confirming the closure of its Port Augusta power station and Lee Creek coal mine at the expense of more than 400 workers and possibly an entire town.
Early this year, when Alinta Energy announced they were going to close their power station in Port Augusta and coal mine in Lee Creek, we knew there was massive transformation happening in the energy sector, and we needed to get involved in the debate on climate change, because at that stage and today, workers are carrying the heaviest burden of climate action, and that's not right.
In July 2015, we held our first Energy Members Roundtable. We spent the day talking about the fallout of the Alinta closure.
A lot of the issues that are faced now were discussed at that conference. We had the opportunity to meet with state and federal politicians, and our key focus was to come up with an energy plan that we could input to the politicians to try and influence future direction for the electricity industry.
The end result of this work was our report, There Are No Jobs on a Dead Planet, making South Australia the just transition capital of the world. In the lead up to the Paris Climates in 2015, we were delighted when the SA government announced their new climate change policy, heavily referencing our report and talking about a just transition for workers for the first time. With the world focused on COP21, we used this opportunity to engage our entire membership around climate change. We helped organise the big climate march in Adelaide, and both our Secretary and our Branch Councillor for Energy spoke at the rally about the importance of a just transition for workers. One of the great things to come out of this campaign is the linking of ASU members across our diverse industries, working together to form alliances. Our energy members working alongside members working for environmental organisations, our members working for a feeder and other community service organisations supporting people who are about to become climate change refugees, and our local government members building infrastructure to respond to ever-increasing climate events.
As a young person, I'm really concerned about what climate change means for my generation, which is why I work with other young people at the Australian Youth Climate Coalition, but it's also an issue that's going to fundamentally impact workers all over Australia, and that's why I'm a member of the ASU and think it's really important that environmentalists and unionists come together on this issue and call for a just transition and strong action on climate change.
Take you out of your comfort zone, stop looking at your microcosm that you tend to exist in, and really be aware of what's going on not only in South Australia but Australia and the world, and make you realise how important it actually is to be united, be part of a group that's actually moving towards making improvements locally, nationally and across the world.
Ultimately, solidarity only really works in a global context.
We haven't limited our member roundtables to industry-specific groups. One of the things we are most proud of is our Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander members roundtables. The ASU leadership team have worked hard to create opportunities for our Aboriginal members to have a real say in shaping ASU campaigns and policies, and to educate our broader membership on the ongoing inequality they experience.
When I first participated in that roundtable discussion, I was a bit not suspicious, but unaware, for example, where it might be leading us towards. But since participating in it, I'm now starting to see that Aboriginal people must contribute to an organisation like a union. Because the union, for example, has got a large membership. And if Aboriginal people can actually shape and structure the policy in terms of how unions should be working with its members, then why wouldn't you want to get Aboriginal people involved in that?
It all started from there in regards to my involvement with the ASU and working with other Aboriginal people to develop a process where Aboriginal people were the voice, developing major structural changes and systemic changes within the ASU that hopefully has a ripple effect to all other unions around what our needs are, how they can be best met, and are they culturally safe enough for Aboriginal people to participate.
I mean, we stand together as Aboriginal people within community and within our own culture and families, and that's really good. But if we want government to hear what we've got to say and we want to make changes, I think it's really important that we do have Aboriginal people within the union and to become members, so then we can have that voice and have government hear what needs to be said.